Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where we will go beyond the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. Be part of down-to-earth, no BS conversations where we will explore hot topics on love and money, relationships and business, beauty, and who we get to be with all that shit in between. With our insights and your actions, let's be unstoppable together. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. And today's episode is about feedback. And I'm kind of chuckling on the inside because I love feedback. And when I ask this simple question, like, what bothers you about me? People get really confronted by that. But for me, I'm like, bring it on. Show me what I can't see. Tell me what I don't want to hear so I can go transform it. So, Vicky, I know you and we had a conversation last week, I think, and I asked you, I'm like, what is it about me that bothers you? And do you remember that conversation?
I do. And, I don't think I can honestly say this, and I'm going to say it out loud, that I have anyone in my life that I've ever done this with up until now. It's going to be something that I'm going to bring forward in my other relationships, because you and I have had that relationship since we met. And I mean, it probably started because you were my coach originally. You asked me those things, right? You asked me confronting questions. But I remember the first time you shared something with me, you communicated to me that you found me a little sharp. We came on a call and I didn't have the link. It wasn't like, it was just chaos, right? And I was a little frustrated. I'm not going to lie. So when I finally got in, I was like, frickin' I'm right. And so then I was very to the point with any of the questions and anything that was said. And later you had said to me, can I share something with you? And I said, absolutely. And you said, I found you a little sharp. I said, my first immediate reaction was, and then I was like, no, listen to what she has to say. And you said, this is what it brought up for me. And you explained to me the reason why. You said, this has nothing to do with you. But the way you spoke brought up something from my past, which means that I need to deal with that. But I want you to know. And I said, I thank you, because that is something that I get to transform, because I don't want to be that way. I don't want to come across as sharp. I don't want to come across as short with people. And I can. I know I can. Another friend of mine said the other day, I noticed that when you're irritated by someone, she said, I can feel it. I said, you can? What do you mean? She goes, I really can feel it and I can sense it from you. And I said, immediately I thought, then that means the person that I'm irritated with can feel it as well. And that's not fair, because the person that I'm irritated with, I need to have a conversation with why I'm irritated. And then I also need to ask myself, what is this bringing up for me? Why am I irritated? And I need to put myself into check to ask myself that question. If it's coming up for me, then it's a reason that I get to look at within myself. It really has nothing to do with the person over there. So feedback from you was very empowering to me. And you asked me that. And then I asked you afterwards, and you shared, and you were very honest, and it's true. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. And you thanked me for giving you feedback. And I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm more aware now of the things that I get to, if I choose to. I mean, I could just say, yeah, you're full of shit, right? But when I notice it in myself, and I do, and we all know. It's not like it's not something that we don't already know.
People lie, words lie, but energy doesn't. So you ever notice when you walk into a room and you start talking to somebody that you don't really know, you can feel something. You can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is. But sometimes it's like, oh gosh, that is I don't know why, but I just get good vibes from her. Or, oh my gosh, that is something I've never experienced before. I've had that experience. Somebody where you're like, I can't explain it. I hear what they're saying. I see the mouth. The words coming out of their mouth.
Yes.
But I'm feeling something totally different. And we all have this. It's not an intuition thing. It's an energetic exchange. and you can tell who's energetically aligned and who doesn't. Their energy speaks before their words do, always. And so feedback is an opportunity for us to really change the things about us that don't work. And we think that other people can't see it or feel it, but they do. Like, for example, when I said, what bothers you about me? I think your first response was, are you kidding me? Nothing. Like, I just love you. I think you're great. I'm like, no. But like, what are the things that bother you? I don't want you to blow smoke up my ass and, tell me what I want to hear. I want you to tell me what I don't want to hear. And you said something about me in relationships, how even though intuitively I know that it's not a right fit, I let it drag on a lot longer and I don't step into my power. And so I thought, okay, let me look at this. Is it true? I'm like, yeah, I can't lie. But I asked my daughter, I said, what bothers you about me? She said, are you kidding me? Nothing. I love everything about you. And I said, yeah, but the things that I don't want to hear. And she said, well, since you're asking, it was one of those, okay, I got the free reins. She's like, you bring men around that should not even be in our house. You can tell as soon as they walk in that they are not your person, but yet somehow you bring them around like we want to meet them. And that kind of stung me a bit, right? Because I was like, and okay, don't get me wrong, you guys. It's not like in 3 years since I've been divorced that I bring men around all the time. It's been three people in 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say, can we clarify this for a minute?
Wait,
she doesn't have a string of men, right? She doesn't, that's not the truth.
No. But my belief is with regards to that, like if somebody doesn't energetically align with my kids are pretty intuitive and they're pretty, they're a lot like me. They're cut from the same cloth. No.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's funny because like, how do they see it and I don't? Sometimes we can't see our stuff, but it was the same feedback. And I asked somebody else and they gave me the same feedback. So 3 people, the exact same feedback. I knew it, but I didn't really believe that other people could see it. It's like, I know that this is like something I need to work on, but it goes to this. I remember somebody saying, listen, if you ask for feedback and one person says you're an ass, take it with a grain of salt. If 2 people say you're an ass, you might want to consider it. If 15 people say you're an ass, saddle up, giddy up, you're likely an ass, So this is the power in feedback. And imagine if we all have these things that we get to work on. And if people were honest enough in our life to say the truth and we were willing to take that on, man, I mean, but there's no greater personal development and growth than that.
It's so true. And what my girlfriend had said to me was exactly the same thing that you had said. That it's the energy and you can feel it. And, I could sit here and make up every reason and excuse of why I am and but no, I get to notice it and I get to, like you said, you sat with it and you went, is that true? Yeah, that's the truth. It is true. Right?
But see,
and when it is, we get to choose. We get to choose whether we want to or whether we don't. But if the feedback like that, to me, I have the potential to grow from that. I'm going to take it and I'm going to grow.
Well, what's really beautiful about feedback? I think about my very first relationship when I was in high school, right? The first love of my life. I learned I thought I learned a valuable lesson, but apparently I didn't learn the lesson. Because from that moment on, after my first love, what did I do? I attracted the same person throughout my whole entire life, wondering, why do I keep attracting these people in my life? Well, because I had an opportunity to learn the lesson the first time, but I didn't. So then God, source, creator, whatever we want to call, universe, kept sending me the same person in my movie to learn the lesson. And here I am, almost 49 years old. And now with the feedback from you, from my kids, from my friends, seeing it. Now, once I see it, and if I allow it to come in again, now I'm choosing it. I'm choosing it. And we did a whole podcast episode on choice. If you didn't see that one, go back and watch it.
Absolutely.
But now it's no longer unconscious. it's conscious. I'm choosing people that will try and dim my light, and I allow that because I'm afraid of showing up. Instead of attracting somebody that matches my energy, I come back down and play small. That's my pattern. I have this tendency of just undermining who I am for the world, for life, and I hide. I can see these patterns. So now every time I do that, every time I hide, when I'm in a group settings, people will be celebrating their accomplishments and wins and talking about themselves. And I'll just sit back and be like, yeah, that's all. I'm so happy for you. That's so exciting. And people are like, well, what about you, Tina? What have you been doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, no, just kind of up to a few things. And always one of my friends will be like, really, Tina? Really? Just up to a few things? But I'm not that one to ever, put myself out there in that way, because I've had this story. The more people know about you, the more they can use it against you. The more they'll hate you. That voice in my head, downplay your success. Don't be too bright. Don't be this. Don't be that. So I do that in relationships. And now that I see it, I got to stop doing that. Otherwise, the door will be revolving of people, the same people coming in. But I think, Vicky, I'm done with it now, just so you know.
Okay, good.
I've let
I mean, who's gonna tell you if that person comes in and you're not. I promise it will be me.
I know. It's so funny because, I'll bring people around Vicky, and I was at her house one day and I brought somebody over, and her husband's like, listen, we need to have a conversation. You can't just bring anybody over, okay? Because you're our family now. And anybody who you're bringing in, they got to be worthy of coming in. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm in the hot seat. And now I'm like, okay, no more randoms. No more, he's a person, but no, I'm cutting that off. So I don't know if you guys can resonate with this, but I guess what we're trying to say is, if you're willing to take this on, ask people in your life, what bothers you about me? What are the things that you think I need to change? And if you get triggered by what they say, consider it that's exactly what you get to change. If you get I don't need to change that, it's probably because you do. So, but it is actually a very alive process. And what I mean by that is it helps you fully experience what it means to be alive. Taking that on and being willing to see it and make the changes.
And I mean, I think too, the people that love you the most, when you asked me that, why would I not be honest with you? I love you. I want you to be happy. I know what you're capable of. Why wouldn't I want all the best for my friend?
Yeah.
Right? And same with you. When you shared with me what your thoughts and feelings were, you weren't doing it to be a bitch. You were doing it to be honest so that you could, that you know what I'm capable of. And I think that that's where people get the lines blurred here about feedback. I'm not saying criticize your friend, and I'm not saying judge, and no, feedback is something for growth. It's towards your growth.
And don't give it without asking for permission. Hey,
please don't give it without permission.
Are you open to me sharing my experience of you? That's how we can say it. Or you could say, hey, are you open to feedback? Something I noticed about you, in a way, because some people will be like, no, I'm not open to that. No, I don't want to hear it. They're not ready. And it's we had to practice coaching without permission. Even on these podcasts, sometimes we got to be very careful. We don't want to be going around sharing things that people aren't ready to receive, and that's why we're always encouraging, be open to this. It's not the truth. And you'll hear me say that all the time. This isn't the truth. It's my truth. You can let it in or not. That's okay. But when we are open, miracles can happen around us, and we can actually transform our relationships through feedback. And I remember just last week, I encouraged our coaching clients to take on this activity, to ask for feedback. And I remember one of our clients said, oh, I don't even need to ask them. I already know what they're going to say. And I had to do some coaching around that because I said, okay, consider you don't know what they're going to say. And if you're afraid of asking them, maybe it's because there's something that you don't want to look at and you don't want to be responsible for and you don't want to shift. And that's okay. When you're ready, you're ready. But you will keep repeating the same lessons over and over with different people, different situations until you're ready to see yourself and let it go. And a lot of times in business too, we hold ourselves back in business when we're not open to feedback. Because we're not willing to be observers of ourselves in the process. And we talked about the process and enjoying the journey. But when we're not willing to do that, if we're not willing to see ourselves, then we will be impacted in our enrollment calls, in our business growth, in all different areas.
Yeah,
and people don't always make the connection. But when you take an action in your life, like accepting feedback and going to work, you'll see that thread impacts your business. It's almost like this imaginary thing that you pull and it unravels and you just start seeing it, how it's impacted in all areas of your life.
Yes.
Because me not honoring myself in relationships, attracting men that don't see me for who I am and want me to change or want me to like, why do you have to be so serious? Or why do you have to be this? Or why can't you be like this? Well, I was feeling that I needed to accommodate to everybody. So in business, I became like a chameleon, trying to accommodate everybody and be likable. And I realized that I attracted clients, well, potential clients, not clients because I don't work with people like that, but I attracted a lot of enrollment conversations in people not accepting me for who I am and getting triggered by me. And I'm like, okay, if I don't take this on in my relationships, I'm going to keep seeing these people. So as soon as you gave me feedback and my daughter gave me feedback about the relationship and I really saw it, the people who showed up on enrollment calls with me were totally different. They were like empowered. They were ready to take action. They loved who I was and appreciated that. And it's like, how is that even possible? Listen, this is what I realized. We don't need to know how it's possible, but we got to trust that there's a bigger force outside of us that knows the future and is putting all of these people on our path to help us transform it. And this is certainty. When these people start showing up, it's giving us certainty that we're on the right path. Because if we're attracting people that aren't our ideal people in relationships, in business, we got to start seeing it's because we are attracting it. It's because of us. There is something
really
in our energy.
That's a hard thing for a lot of people. I know myself included, and for a long time, it was a hard thing for me to understand. It was a hard thing for me to swallow. I know right and wrong. A lot of us need to be right. And there's something to be said to just not being right or wrong, just being. I don't need to be right. I don't need to be right. And I mean, knowing that I have people in my life that I surround myself with now that have got my back and that I could ask that question to, and they would be honest with me. It's a blessing. I'm grateful for it. Because my life really has changed because I get to see things that I never saw before.
Yeah.
And I get to be honest, right? I get to be honest with myself.
Every day, if I could ask somebody every single day to give me feedback so that I can quickly transform the things that I can't see, I mean, I would actually take that on with velocity because I know the power of it. Actually, after this podcast, I might even reach out to my ex-husband and be like, hey, what is it about me that bothers you? Because even the people like that, like, even though like that is the father of my children.
That's right.
And I know he sees me through a totally different lens, but what he has to say, is because he knows me more intimately than anybody. We were together for 22 years. I'm really curious to see. And I remember too, one time he said to me, how I see you now is different than how I saw you when we were married. I wish I saw you the way I see you now when we were together, because we would probably still be together. And I thought that was really interesting because when we change, when we shift our energy, people start seeing us differently. So what he can't see is I showed him the part of me based on how I saw him. I held myself back. I didn't give him all of me because how I created him to be. And now, like, being 100% responsible, his experience of me when we were married is because of my energy. And now that we're not married and I have no attachment and I could just be free to be me, my energy shifted so that he can see it now. So this dynamic, and we can do another one on like relationships and stuff like that. But
absolutely,
this is the power of feedback. When we shift our energy, we don't have to change people, because people, will say to me all the time, I'm doing all of this personal development and work, but what if my husband doesn't shift or my wife doesn't change? How can we be together? And this is the thing. Sometimes the personal work will fast track what you will ultimately come to see anyways. If somebody's not supposed to be in your life, or they're in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, you'll just know that a lot quicker. Or by you shifting your energy, by you giving light in darkness, you can start transforming people just by your being. And I don't know how many people, and you can attest to this, will say that to you and me, I just feel better when I'm in your presence. Like, I feel like just being with you gives me energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the power of personal growth and development, is that you don't need to change anybody else. Your light, when you give your light to them, they shift or they fall off. They fall away, but a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of that is okay. Honestly, if they're not meant to be in your life, they're not meant to be in your life. And, I'm going to take this on today. I'm going to ask my husband what his experience is, because I don't think I ever have. We get so busy in our lives, right? And he's my, I take him for granted, and I don't mean that at all, but I mean, he's my constant. So it's like, he supports me. So I just keep going. But I've never stopped to say, what is your experience of me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know that's definitely somewhere where I get to grow.
Yeah. And, this is, for me, this is the art of being unstoppable.
Yes, it is.
When I can take the feedback and use it to improve. And, the things that we talk about with you guys, we want you to know that we don't just give lip service. These are things that we work on every single day of our life while we're parents, while we're grandparents. Well, I'm not a grandparent, but Vicky is.
She's not.
While we're growing a business.
Yes.
While we're taking on our spiritual growth and our personal growth and everything else, we make this a priority because we know that this is the foundation of living. And being observers of ourselves is really trusting the process. And this is part of our spiritual path. So, I can't thank you guys enough for spending time with us every week and listening and sharing your feedback. And of course, now how much we really do love the feedback, good, bad.
Yes, absolutely. Give us feedback. It's an empowering thing. I just want to, before we end this, share, I had my first negative feedback on a social platform last week. Like, nasty. And, I had people screenshotting it and sharing it to me like, did you see that? Oh my goodness. Oh my God. And it was just like, I just took it in stride, and I just said, I work with many coaches, and obviously I'm not the one for you, but I can give you some names, right? Like, what do you say? There's good and there's bad, but it was feedback. It was feedback, and it was where she was coming from, and whatever, it is what it is. But I can really say that before this journey that I've begun, I would have reacted to that, and not in a good way.
Remember how we said earlier, like, if you get triggered, think about this. If somebody gives you feedback and you actually believe it, you're going to get pissed off that they said it. if somebody said, you're the most inauthentic person I've ever met, I'd be like, wow, thanks for the feedback. I'll check that out. I'm not triggered by that because I don't actually believe that's true about myself. But I believe, if I knew in my heart, I'm phony baloney and people are seeing, I would get triggered because I'm like, oh, people actually, I didn't think they could see that about me.
Yeah.
So this is the foreign feedback. It's like, let me look, I'll take it on. But real triggers, like if you are triggered by something that somebody says, likely it's because you believe that it's true. That's when we get triggered. So because I get a lot of feedback and I'm like, I like the ones where I'm really triggered because I'm like, that hurt. Like that's really painful. I didn't want to see that about myself, but I'm glad that I did because now I can go to work there. And that's probably a real big lesson that like I get to let go of. And those ones don't feel good. They don't feel comfortable at all, but they are the ones that are just so beautiful when you let go of. So on that note, we are going to end this podcast episode. In the show notes, there are other ways that you guys can learn more from us, and we have free resources available. If you really want to take this on your personal growth or development, we would love to talk to you and learn more about what you're up to, what you want to create. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We really do believe without you, there is no us. So thank you so much for spending your time with us every week, or maybe this is your first episode. Thank you for being here with us. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Well, friends, that is the end of our episode today. If you love this episode, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And please share us with your friends and tag us on your socials at The Art of Being Unstoppable. So for today, have yourself a beautiful day and let's be unstoppable together. See you next time.